Banning says hello, our senior pastor. He is in San Diego right now preaching at Jesus Culture San Diego. He and the whole family are down there visiting their daughter, Raya, who's in college down there, and they're going to Disneyland tomorrow. And I went to Disneyland over Thanksgiving break. Not over Thanksgiving, but we went before Thanksgiving. First time going at Christmas. And I heard the tales, I heard the hype that it's amazing at Christmas. Like, just when you think Disneyland can't get more magical, it does. And all the moms who were telling me about it, they were like, you're going to cry when the snow happens on Main Street. And I was like, Disneyland's amazing, don't get me wrong. But, is it that much better at Christmas? And I don't cry easily, so I don't know if I'm going to cry when fake snow flutters down. I was wrong. Christmas at Disneyland is amazing. And I'm not like a Disney adult. I know there's some of you are like Disney adults, and that's okay. We accept you. I'm not a Disney adult, but it was incredible. All the hype, it completely lives up to it. It wasn't fantastic. And then when the snow hits at the end of the fireworks on Main Street and they're playing the music, I don't know if I was crying because I'm broke now. I think that was a little bit. And I'm like, I have no money. Kids aren't going to college, but oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I was crying, like streaming tears. It was so beautiful. We had a good time. And Bannon and I were talking about Disneyland we did a podcast. And I said, we're going to Disney. He goes, oh, you're awesome. And he goes, what kind of Disney goer are you? Do you go like when the park opens, or you come at like 10 or noon? And I thought, people go at 10 or noon? And I realized this, you guys. And they do. I'm at the park, and there's people just getting there at like 12 o'clock. And I realized, you have more money than me. If you feel the leisure to just stroll into Disneyland, you have way more money than me. I'm too poor to not go when the doors open. I am going to squeeze every ounce of dollars, every penny I paid. I am going to take a picture with every cast member. My kids didn't care about the cast members. I'm like, I paid for this picture with Geppetto. Like the B cast members too, Geppetto. I'm like, Geppetto, get over here. I stopped Geppetto. Nobody cares about Geppetto. My kids didn't know who he was. I'm like, this is Pinocchio's maker. I'm taking a picture with him. I took a picture with Max from the Goofy movie. I'm taking a picture with every cast member because I paid for that picture, and we are there before the doors open, and we're staying till they close the park because we have been saving for 5 years for this experience. I made my kids miserable. My 6-year-old's like, can we please go home? I'm tired. I shoved a churro in his mouth. I said, I paid for that. You will enjoy this. We will ride every ride that we can. And guys, we rode over 22 rides. Like, we were miserable. But we got our money's worth. Amen? So that's nice if you go and you just ride a ride or two. You go at 12, you leave at 6 because you got season passes and you could just go anytime you want. I'm happy for you. It's great. You can open your Bibles to Luke chapter 1. We're going to be talking a little bit about what I'm just goofing around about, this envy and comparison stuff that we do. A few months back, I spoke a message on anxiety from Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus instructs us not to be anxious about anything. And in that message, we kind of explore this idea of culturally acceptable sin. That there's these sins and there's these areas that we miss the mark, but they're so common, they're so rampant that we just kind of stop confronting it. We don't really recognize it as sin anymore because everybody does it. And we just, instead of repenting from it, we actually live with it. And we begin to adjust our lives around it. Something like anxiety is that. Anxiety and worry, it's a sin. Jesus says that plainly, it's a sin, yet we just kind of embrace being anxious and worrisome, and we adjust our lives to adapt around it. And I said, there's kind of these culturally normalized sin. Envy is one of those. This is a great message around Christmas, huh? Envy, just for a second, this is gonna be a little bit hard to digest at first, but we'll get there. Think about how envious we are as a people. We have a whole little society built on comparison and envy. What do you have that I don't? What do I need to be better than you? What are the things that add to my life? Social media is just this. It's a whole little platform built on comparing what you have and others don't, what others have that you don't, wanting to get ahead. It's just kind of how we've built it. Really, we all do this. I thought too, in preparing this, I thought maybe it's just a more Western civilization problem. Maybe it's more Western consumerism, materialism problem. And then I thought, well, it is one of the 10 commandments. So maybe it's more of a human being problem. Maybe it's way more universal than we'd like to admit that we all do this. And God knew we were going to do this. So when he said, hey, there's some things I want you to do differently because everybody does it, one of those things of the 10, I don't want you to covet. I don't want you to be envious of your neighbor and want what they have. I mean, don't you agree life was better before social media? Right? This is that gets the most amens. Wasn't life so much better when you didn't have an amplified version of what everybody else was doing and how they were doing and where they were going and you weren't? We're already going to compare. As a society, it's just kind of we're just built for tribalism. It's it's just human nature. Social comparison is what we're going to do. I measure how I'm doing compared to how you're doing. I find my place in society. It's like a hierarchy. So we're already going to do it. Social media amplifies it because now I don't have to go and see how you're doing. Now you're coming into my living room. And as I'm sitting depressed on my couch thinking of all the things that I don't have, I'm seeing all the things that you have, and this is just social media. And the science, it's no longer we'll wait and see how this is going for us. The science is out. Social comparison on social media, the correlation of that and low self-esteem and depressive feelings, the stats are just crazy. Yeah. It's just proven. They're no longer we don't know how it's affecting you. Now we know how it's affecting us. It's really bad. We have to be aware of this for the next generation. We didn't grow up on social media. We've adopted it into our adult life, but our kids are growing up in this. They're growing up in this, and we have to figure out how to set ourselves apart and remove ourselves from the traps here because of what it breeds in us. And there's a lot of examples in the Bible of when envy goes wrong, like Saul and David, right? That was a disaster. Saul was envious of David, and it didn't end well. Joseph's brothers were envious of him and the favor he had and the coat he had and the dreams he had. So they sold him into slavery. There's a crazy story in Numbers chapter 16 with the Israelites where there's a company of men led by a man named Korah. He has some priestly duties. They have priestly duties to attend to in the tabernacle, but they don't like the priestly duties they've been assigned to. They like the leadership that Moses and Aaron have, so they start to contest the leadership. And Moses says, what are you talking about? I love what he says. In Numbers 16, he goes, is it any small thing that the Lord has assigned you to that you want this also? And then the earth opens up and swallows them. The lesson there, think about it. The envy in their hearts consumed them. Led to their destruction. But I love what we're about to read because it's an example where there's an opportunity for envy and comparison and someone who responds in such the opposite spirit that we see an amazing version, an amazing other. There's another way. There's an opportunity when that thing pops up, when the comparison trap presents itself and envy starts to lurk around the corner, there is a way we can respond that's different. So that's what we're going to read. In the Gospel of Luke, I thought this is a great message after Black Friday, right before Cyber Monday. We need help. And then on the backs of Mark's contentment message, the Lord has this for us. So Gospel of Luke, Luke's a historian and a physician, and he wanted to write a chronological, accurate account of the life of Jesus. He wrote this 2-volume work. We separated it in our Bible into Luke and Acts, but it was all one work that Luke wrote. And he focuses on Jesus as the one who saves and fulfills the Old Testament prophecy. And so he's going to start all the way at the beginning, and he starts with the predecessor, with Jesus' predecessor, John the Baptist. And he talks about where John the Baptist started. I'm going to give you some quick context because we're going to start in the middle of the first chapter on a couple named Elizabeth and Zacharias. Elizabeth is Mary's cousin. Mary, the mother of Jesus. Elizabeth is her older cousin. And Elizabeth and her husband Zacharias are old and childless. The word says they were righteous in God's eyes and careful to obey all the commandments, Luke 1:6, but they're barren. Now, in those times when people were barren, it would be assumed that it was because of unrighteousness and maybe some sin. But the word makes it clear that that's not why Elizabeth is barren. She was righteous and careful to obey the commandments of the Lord. So her barrenness is just those unexplained mysteries of life, like why, And it's not because of anything she did. So one day in the sanctuary of the temple, her husband Zacharias is visited by an angel of the Lord, and he says, your wife is going to conceive a child, and he's going to be a man with the spirit and power of Elijah, Luke 1:17, and he would prepare the way for the coming of the Lord. That's amazing. It's an incredible encounter, and this promise is given that they're going to have a son. Finally, and not only are they going to have a son, he's going to be a man of spirit and power. He's going to be the one who prepares the way of the one you have been waiting for hundreds of years. He's coming, and your son is going to be the one to prepare the way. I'm excited about this. Shortly after that, the same angel appears to Elizabeth's younger cousin Mary, who is an unmarried virgin. And the same angel says, you're going to conceive supernaturally before you're married. You're going to name this son Jesus, and he's the very Son of God who will save the world. And the angel tells her in this encounter, Mary, he tells her, your cousin Elizabeth is also pregnant. So after the encounter with the angel, Mary, it says she goes with haste to Elizabeth. I'm thinking she's probably going to Elizabeth because she's like, okay, maybe she knows what is going on. Right. The same angel just visited us. We're both pregnant. What is happening? This is wild. So she goes to Elizabeth, and that's where we're picking up on Luke chapter 1, verse 39. Now Mary arose in those days and went into the hill country with haste. See, she's hurrying. To a city of Judah, and entered the house of Zacharias and greeted Elizabeth. And it happened when Elizabeth heard the greeting of Mary that the babe leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. Then she spoke out with a loud voice and said, blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. But why is this granted to me that the mother of my Lord should come to me? For indeed, as soon as the voice of your greeting sounded in my ears, and the babe leaped in my womb for joy. Blessed is she who believed, for there will be a fulfillment of those things which were from the Lord. Then there's this beautiful song of Mary, where Mary is thankful and she's giving this praise to God. And then go to verse 56. After she sings her song or says her song, Mary remained with Elizabeth about 3 months and then returned to her house. A few weeks ago, the Lord woke me up around 3 a.m. Thank you, Lord. I don't have small kids or anything. And I wasn't reading Luke at the time. I was reading a different passage in my, reading, and he started to speak to me about Luke chapter 1 and Elizabeth's response. And between 3 and 5 a.m., I couldn't sleep, and he kept waking me up. And in between sleep and wakefulness, the Lord was speaking to me about Elizabeth's response. He said, I want you to think about Elizabeth's response. I want you to read what Elizabeth said. And I'm like, why? Isn't this passage really about Mary's response and the beautiful song she sings? It's world famous. And he said, I want you to look at Elizabeth's response. And he challenged me and started to speak to me about being in Elizabeth to those that are experiencing breakthrough and favor. So let's think about this for a sec. Elizabeth was righteous, but she was old and barren, longed for a child. Most women want to have children. It's what we were designed to do. We long to mother, to carry life. And especially in those days, this was what women did. It was like to be barren you were kind of an outcast. So she's longing for a child. She amazingly, supernaturally is visited by an angel who tells her she's going to conceive. And not only that, that would be enough just to get pregnant, right? I've been wanting to get pregnant. Any woman who's longed to be pregnant, you would know that feeling. But she's not only pregnant, he is going to be a man of the same power and spirit of Elijah, and he's going to prepare the way for the coming of the Lord. This is all too much. Elizabeth is stoked. She says, my reproach has been taken away. Oh, thank you, God. And what a wonderful son this is going to be. Well, 6 months into her pregnancy, the same angel visits her younger cousin and says, Mary, you have found favor with God, and you're going to be pregnant as a virgin, and it's going to be God's own son, the Messiah. And so Mary goes to tell her older cousin, because maybe she's thinking, well, same angel visited us. He mentioned your name. What is going on? For whatever reason, she visits her and she shares the news. Elizabeth's response is really surprising, at least to me, and extremely challenging. She's happy for her. I'm thinking, wait a second. You just waited your entire life for this breakthrough. This is a big deal. Everybody's talking about it. Your husband can't talk. Bible humor. Like, this is your moment, Liz. This is what you've been waiting for. You're a walking miracle. And you have a prophet greater than Elijah in your womb. Like, this is about you, girl. Come on. This is awesome. I'm thinking, if this is me, and I've been waiting, and I finally get the breakthrough, and not only is it the breakthrough, it's like the breakthrough plus, and then here comes just young Mary, who has not been praying for this, who is not old and barren. She's not even married. And she's like, hey, guess what? I'm pregnant too. And it's the Son of God. If I'm Elizabeth, I'm like, what? Get out of here. Way to steal my thunder, Mary. But she doesn't do any of that. She's happy for her. The Lord challenged me. He said, do you respond like Elizabeth when people experience a breakthrough you've wanted? There's no comparison. There's no envy. There's no, like, wait a second. There's no bitterness. No, I'm thinking as I read this again, I'm like, that's not fair. Come on, give Liz a break. Mary waltzing in here. You're, what are you, 14? She's happy for her. She blesses her. She blesses the baby. She affirms her faith, and then she takes her in. Is this how we respond? Is this how we treat people who experience favor around us? Is this how we treat people who seemingly have something that is better or greater or bigger or something that we want too? So what does Elizabeth teach us? How was she able to do this? Elizabeth was able to respond in blessing and affirmation because she didn't let comparison get the better of her. It's an example of what happens when we don't give way to the spirit of envy. What is she able to do? When we compare, we will compete where we're called to celebrate. There was no competition that popped up. I want to compete for her. Like, come on. Can't she just couldn't he have waited a little bit? But here we are in the story, two women. Same God, but different favor, different assignments, and there's no comparison. There's no competition here. What happens when someone gets something we've been wanting? It's really hard to respond with blessing and not competition because we're actually hardwired to compare, right? It's a double whammy because not only does our human nature compares, and I'll show you where it says this in the Bible. Like your fleshly human nature is full of comparison and envy. We're tribal. This is just what we do. We compete. We contrast. So not only is it our human nature, our society also encourages it and says, this is how you're going to know how you're doing. Got to look at what everybody else is doing. And then we've built a whole economy around it. It's like, here's all the ads for things that you should have so that you're better than the guy next door. Here's so we're kind of just saturated in this culture. We evaluate how we're doing in life compared to others, right? Just who gets a bigger TV when your friends do? Come on. Who's like, yeah, it's time to upgrade my car because neighbor just pulled up in a new car. All of a sudden, your Honda Civic's not looking so nice anymore. Who starts feeling a little behind in life when your friends get promoted and their business just takes off? You thought you were doing good, but gosh, they're doing really good. What am I doing wrong? Who does a little retail therapy? when all of a sudden, after scrolling, your life doesn't seem to be measuring up so much. So you're going to go for the 75-inch. That'll help, right? We do this. When Derek and I first got married, we had this couple friend who got married about 6 months after us. And we lived in Redding, and we're just 20 and going after the Lord together. And they had a different upbringing than we did. Their families were a bit wealthier than ours. They started out with more than we had, just practically. So I've told you guys the story of my first apartment. We pull up to it, and I start crying. I said, Derek, is this where you're going to make me live? He's like, yeah. I'm like, it's scary. So we go over to our friends. They get married 6 months after us, and they get their first apartment. It was in a way better part of town. It was way nicer. I was like, oh, awesome. Love that that's your first apartment. Like, it was a really nice first apartment. Well, then Derek and I get upgraded to a townhouse down, a couple streets over, way nicer. We had a little bit more money. We're getting established in our jobs. We're saving. We're a little better off. Well, our friends were like, hey, we want to live by you guys. Let's do life together. We're going to move into the same area, and we're getting this townhouse. And I was like, that one? That just got built? The brand new one? You're getting that? She's like, yeah, it's so fun. We want to live by you. Ah, okay. Well, I remember walking in, all of our stuff. I thought we were doing really good. We had everything from Target and IKEA. Like, there was no Goodwill, I'm like, wow, this is a real step up. Got rid of a lot of our hand-me-downs, and this was nice. Nicer than any place I'd ever lived. And I remember walking in, we were helping them move, and I walked into their brand new townhouse, and I kid you not, they're in their 20s, 21, 22, same. Everything's Crate and Barrel in West Elm. It was painful. I had the knockoff versions of all the things she had picked out. I'm like, oh, I have the IKEA version of that thing, So nice. I'm just unboxing her Pottery Barn stuff. I'm like, this is so beautiful. No, I didn't. So that's all right. We stayed friends. Then it comes time to buy our first home. So exciting. It's a big deal to buy your first home. So we buy this fixer-upper house. It was a home, but it needed work. But I loved it. It was this ranch-style home in this neighborhood, and we were going to roll up our sleeves and do the work. So we get this house. Well, our friends, they're like, we want to buy a house. We want to live by you guys. I'm like, you do? That's sweet. They're like, yeah, and guess what? His grandma is letting us access the trust fund, and it's going to give us the down payment. Wow. She's like, and guess what? They're giving us $50,000 to remodel it. I was like, oh, yay. She's like, and guess what? I got a house that's modeled exactly like yours. It's just newer. I'm like, awesome. It gets worse. This is real. This is a real. I'm like, we're going to get a new car. We worked hard. We saved up $6,000 and bought a 2004 Ford Focus. That had a giant dent in it, but it was awesome. It was mine. It was paid off, and I was so excited. And we drove it over to their house. I was like, look, we got a new car. We're just celebrating all the milestones together. And I kid you not, it wasn't but a week later, she's like, his grandma is giving us her Lexus that she doesn't drive anymore. Happy for you. That's so great. I was not Elizabeth. Blessed are you among new married couples. Blessed is your Lexus in your brand new house. I was rotten with envy. I was like, why? That's not fair. I've worked harder. I come from less. I don't have a rich grandma. What did you do that I didn't? That stuff started popping up in me, and God wanted to deal with it. Because our ability, our response in all of those moments and opportunities that life will give you, someone's always going to have a bigger house, a better car, a bigger bonus. Someone's always going to get promoted. Right? It's always going to happen. Fact of life. Someone's business will always do better. It is never going to end. I'm encouraging. It's what builds character. It's what makes me more like Christ. It's what draws me closer to the Father. It's what secures me in my identity, my ability in those moments. I have two options: lean into envy and start comparing just like the world does, and then scheme my way ahead. Or worse yet, we're happy when those people fail. Because secretly inside, we're like, I hope that doesn't last for you. I'll be honest, thank you. Or we can have the response of Elizabeth that's like, wow, this isn't about me right now. This isn't about my assignment versus yours, my favor versus yours, my blessing versus yours. I'm so happy for what God is doing in your life. And that response is what reveals Christ. It reveals Christ to people. Paul writes to the Corinthians. He says, I hear there's division among you. He's not okay with that. Because we are called to be unified as a body. If we're not unified, we're no example. Right. And Christ died for our unity. And he goes, I hear there's division among you. Like, are you kidding me? And he follows up. He said, I hear there's envy and jealousy among you. The envy and jealousy is connected to the division in the body of Christ. And then Paul says, oh, you're still being controlled by your sinful nature. It's not Christ-like to be envious. It's not Christ-like to be jealous of one another. What are you doing? He says, put on your new self. You're still carnal. He says, I know you're still worldly because you're jealously competing with one another. Church, we have to deal with this. We are not to look like the world. In ancient times, God says the 10 things that I want to give you to set you apart as my people and I your God. One of those 10 is that you won't be jealous of what one another has. And so Paul goes, what are you doing? There's a new way to be human. Christ died for a new way to live that looks like celebrating others, preferring others, being excited for their breakthrough, being unified together. Don't let jealousy and envy rob you of your new humanity in Christ. There's a new way. We also can recognize this too, church. We have different assignments. We have different assignments. Elizabeth's assignment was really beautiful. You are called to carry John the Baptist. That is a worthy calling. If she were to let comparison and envy steal her contentment and gratitude and security in her assignment, what would have happened? Right? This is what comparison and envy do. It robs me of my security and my assignment. Mary was assigned to something different. You're assigned to something different than your neighbor. Your family is assigned to something different. You're in a different season from the Lord. It's worthy. It's beautiful. Commit to it. And when you can commit to it and be secure in that, you can do what Elizabeth does, which is blesses Mary and blesses her promise and celebrates what God is doing and then affirms her faith and then takes her in. This is the life that we're called to. This is Ephesians 4. A couple weeks ago, I talked about Ephesians 4. He's saying, you're called to be unified as a church, building each other up, edifying the body, building each other up in mutual love and oneness by walking in gentleness and humility and selflessness. Comparison and envy, it stops all of that. It opposes the work of God among us. It opposes that. It deteriorates that. But we're called to bless people, bless their promise, build them up. You know, Elizabeth's not thinking, this isn't fair. I'm the older one. I've been righteous. I've been careful to obey your commandments. I've been reading the promises. I know who's coming. This is what we do. When someone walks in with favor, when someone's family begins to experience blessing and breakthrough, if we're not careful, when we've wanted that too, we begin, well, that's not fair. They don't deserve that like I do. And how come? And what do I have to do to get that? If I'm doing all of that, there's no way I can say, blessed are you among people. That is amazing. I bless what God is doing in your life. How can I help you? How can I come alongside you? I want to affirm your faith. I want to affirm your walk. I want to edify you. Let's do this together. But if I'm so busy comparing, scheming, being being jealous. This is why Paul says, stop that. That's carnal. I know you're so like the world if you're jealous of one another. That's what the world does, not you, not us. I love this. I love what Elizabeth shows us here. When I carry the spirit of comparison and envy, I won't recognize my assignment. I won't give myself fully to that. What are you assigned to? What's your family assigned to? What season are you in? And what this does, it kills the gratitude. Mark's message last week, right? I heard it was about contentment, satisfaction. I'm grateful. I can't hold gratitude and comparison at the same time. I'm called to be joyful and content and recognize that everything I have is a gift. This is another countercultural. You know what the world does not promote? Waking up and being grateful that God was merciful to open your eyes and give you breath. Like the truth is, I woke up today because God decided to have mercy on me, and the very air I'm breathing is a gift. And I'm just grateful, and I don't know if I'll wake up tomorrow, and I don't even know how long I'll make it today, because I want to treasure each breath as a gift from God and humbly recognize I'm not owed anything, let alone someone else's breakthrough. The world doesn't teach us that. The world's not promoting that message, but we're not of the world. Envy is an indicator, too, that I'm not confident in who I am and whose I am. I think when we start feeling envious, it's time for an intimacy check. I think we start feeling envious when we're not so sure what the Father says over us and what he says to us. When you start really feeling that thing bubble up, it's time to revisit your intimacy and your promises that God has given you. When you start, maybe your adult children aren't walking with the Lord, and you see this other family is like, oh, their kids are in ministry or giving themselves to the Lord, and you're like, wow, must be nice. I bet they're forced. I bet they're paying them to serve God. That's what they're doing. Or whatever. You're single and everybody's getting married. You're not pregnant and everybody's having kids. You're on a tighter budget and people are living in abundance. It's time for us to go, wait, God, what have you said over me? I won't compare. I won't perform. I won't scheme. I won't be jealous. I won't have strife. What have you said over me? And recognize this. Here's the truth for every single one of you. You're his beloved. You're the one he's well pleased with. You're the one he poured himself out for. He broke his body and shed his blood for you. Paul says, we are rich in Christ. Paul's like constantly trying to tell them, the churches that are envious and jealousy and quarreling. He's like, guys, you are rich in Christ. You have everything you need. You're so immeasurably more rich than you know that you are. What are you doing caring about this stuff? What are you doing comparing status? We're all Christ. This is all for him, and you have everything you need. Be thankful in all circumstances, right? So when we feel that thing pop up, and it does, and it will, get with the Lord, sit at his feet, just say, oh, I won't give way to that. I won't let envy, I won't let covetousness in. I'm grateful for the gifts under my tree. I'm grateful for the family that I have. God, you're working in my midst. And as other people experience blessing and breakthrough and they flourish and they thrive, I'll be the front row cheerleader saying, blessed are you. I love what God is doing. I want to be around you. I want to celebrate you. How can I help you? How's that for a challenge? Yes. Elizabeth does more than just say, way to go. Right? Because we can all say it. I was talking with someone after first service. She's like, I had a season in life where everybody was getting what I wanted. And she goes, I was Elizabeth out here, but when I went home. And people know, right? My friend knew when her life was just seeming to like go so much better than mine as a young married. I was like, awesome, great. She knew there were seasons where I was just giving her lip service. So happy for you. But I would pull away. I'd get distant. I'd kind of get a little colder. And then there were seasons where God was working in me and I was being, I was maturing. And now I'm like, hey, can I come over and help you out in that brand new beautiful house, that remodel? Okay. Because Elizabeth doesn't just say, blessed are you among women. Doesn't just say, way to go, Mary, I'm so excited. Elizabeth's atmosphere and response is so welcoming, is so warm, is so hospitable that Mary stayed. That tells me it wasn't just lip service. Elizabeth wasn't just putting it on. She wasn't just saying the good Christian thing. She wasn't saying the Christian, bless you, brother, that's great for you. She was saying, hey, you can come on in. Do the people who are experiencing the favor of God around you want to stay around you? Do they find that you can help them out with what you have? The text doesn't say this, so I just have to say it is an inference I'm making. But I do wonder, did Elizabeth say, hey, I'm 6 months along into my pregnancy. Mary, come on in. Let me teach you something about carrying this promise. Wow. Maybe Elizabeth was going to help Mary. We'll figure it out. I don't know what Joseph's going to think. I have no idea what people are going to think. This is wild, but I know it's God. And she affirms her faith. Don't lose heart, Mary. God has spoken to you, and you believed him, and you're going to be known among all of us. That's powerful. That's some real non-competitive selflessness to say, hey, let's say someone in your profession, the thing that you've given your life to, starts to experience some radical, crazy blessing. And you go, hey, among all of us, what we're doing here, you're going to be the one. You're going to be known. That's awesome. She wasn't saying, I'll be known too, Like, hey, I'm the one preparing a way for that son of yours. Don't forget me. Don't forget the angel came to me first. Don't forget I've been on the earth longer. Don't forget I'm a little wiser. Guys, this is, what kind of creeps in. So do the people around us who are having the breakthroughs, whose kids are following the Lord, who are getting pregnant, who are getting married, who are getting bonuses, when they get around you, what do they experience? Elizabeth is like, I'm just happy God's here. She's so humble. I'm challenged by her humility. She says, why would God grant me that you'd come here? I'm thinking, what? Come on now, Elizabeth. You got John the Baptist up in there. But she's like, this isn't about me. This isn't about what I'm carrying. God's doing something. Is that how I believe we can be that way. This isn't about me. This isn't about my prayer request. This isn't about what I've been contending for. God's moving among us. Imagine how the holidays could be. Imagine how the church could be if as a community we were just like, oh, God's here. He's healing people. I'm still waiting for my healing, but he just healed you. I'm so happy for you. People are going to know about that. That's amazing. Way to believe, right? Like maybe the people around you too, maybe the Marys around you need your affirmation. Maybe they need your encouragement. Maybe they need you coming alongside them while you wait, while you experience a different level of breakthrough, while you carry your promise and fulfill your assignment. They need you saying, blessed are you who believes. Well, she was able to offer her something in that moment. But none of that's possible if she's comparing. None of that's possible if she's envying what she deems as a greater level. And right, we read this from this perspective, we're like, oh, both are so awesome. Both are so worthy. This isn't about comparing what's better, yet we do it. I could take two people and go, oh, what Michael and Diane are doing is amazing. It's so much different than what Andy and Angela are doing. So different. Both are so awesome, such worthy calling, such beautiful things God's doing in their families. Like we say that from an outside perspective, but internally we wrestle, we compare, we measure. You guys okay? Yeah. Worship team can come on up. We'll just have some keys. Here's my challenge. Here's the bottom shelf takeaway. If you're going to talk about me at lunch. Our reply in these moments, our response, it is so much more than just about us, right? It is good for us in a commandment from our Lord to not give way to coveting and envy and strife. So that's good. And we can go, okay, God knows what's best for me and knows that comparison is, it's the thief of joy. It robs me. I can't build each other up. But it's also for my legacy too. And I love that Elizabeth's reply here, blessed are you among women. This is amazing. I love what God is doing. It's the same spirit of the ministry of John the Baptist. She gave birth to the one who would have to say, I know I'm here doing this, but there's one coming that's greater. John the Baptist who would say, I baptize with water, but one's coming who's going to baptize you with something so much greater, and I'm not even worthy to untie his shoe. John the Baptist who said, when they came and they wanted him to be jealous, hey, people are really talking about Jesus. There's this new prophet in town and he's drawing crowds. You've kind of been it for a while, John the Baptist, and everybody knows you and you've got a bunch of disciples, but there's this other guy, kind of threatening, right? John goes, he must increase, I must decrease. It's about what spirit your kids will have and your grandkids. It's your legacy. It's about those that you're discipling, not just your biological kids, your spiritual kids. You can only reproduce what you are. So yeah, it's about you for sure, and us obeying the commandments and us, walking in Christ's likeness, but it's also about others. And us being able to model this for each other and then be an example to the world. Hey, when you enter these communities, you're gonna find something so different. You're happy for each other when you guys get breakthrough. Yeah. You don't compete with one another about who has more or owns more or is more. No, not the Church of Jesus Christ. We celebrate each other. We're fighting for one another. Because we know who we are. We know whose we are. We're grateful for our assignment. And at the end of the day, guys, we're just happy that the Lord is here. We're happy that people are thriving. We're happy that lives are flourishing. I'm so happy about that big house you have. I'm so happy. I'm not just saying it, I mean it. I want to come alongside you. I'm happy for the breakthrough your family is experiencing. Pray for my family because we're believing for the same. I think we can do it. I think this Christmas could look different. I think we could not have the anxiety of the holidays that seems to just be so normalized. It's about what we have and what we don't and where we're going, where we're not. I think we could be free from all of that. I think we could enter this place and be completely guards down, edifying one another, building one another up. I believe in Ephesians 4 church can happen. But it requires some things from us. Can I pray for you guys? Prayer team can come on up. You can put your hand on your heart. Jesus, I thank you for your word that provides for us a roadmap to freedom. I thank you for your word that speaks to every problem we face. I thank you, Lord, that you're so merciful and gracious to bear with us as we work out our maturity, as we work out our sin, as we break free from the world and from bondage. You're merciful to us and you bear with us. We're so grateful. Lord, we come today. We just say we're sorry. We're sorry for every way we've competed where we should have celebrated. We're sorry for every place that we've given over to envy and jealousy. Lord, would you bring restoration and unity to those divided areas of this house? I pray specifically for this community that I have the pleasure of being in leadership over. I pray that there would be unity in every fractured area. There would be unity in every divided area of your life here and at home, where you've seen other people move along or move forward and move up, and it's caused a rift. We say, Lord, heal us. Heal us. Help us put on the new self. Help us walk in the new humanity made possible through your blood. We don't want to be an envious people. Give us the spirit of Elizabeth this Christmas as we reflect on your coming, as we reflect on your incarnation. Keep us tender to this truth. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. I bless you guys. Awesome, guys. A couple things. Thank you. You're kind. Thank you. 2 things. Please, before you leave, please, if you need prayer, please don't leave. If this is, and it does, this stirs some things. Guys, this is hard for me. We're preachers, pastors, we're not immune to this. I had a tough week in this area. I had to keep coming before the Lord, not comparing, not having that envy thing pop up. So if this is stirring something tender, please come and get prayer. Don't leave just okay with that. Don't take that thing home with you.